It's been so long since I've done this, and I kind of don't know where to begin. Hi. I have not stopped knitting, but okay, from the top. I am at my parents' place. I've been here for 4 months, and I'm leaving tomorrow. I came to visit them, spend some time with them, go on vacation, and help them with moving into the new place, which is this this thing, kind of empty. But I came here to help them out, and I only brought so much yarn with me. Like I brought a couple of yarn balls, mostly silk yarn. I brought something that I finished. I purchased something in France when I went on a vacation and knit with it, and the rest is all sock yarn. I've basically been knitting just socks this summer, which is fine because I can't take too much with me outside. I can't take too much with me when I travel around the country because it's too warm. It's been like 40, like 6 degrees at one point. I feel like obviously they measure it in the shade, but in the sun it feels just unbearable. So I've been mostly knitting socks, and a lot of them, and I thought it was about time I showed you what I did before I forget what I actually did, because like it's kind of murky. Like what happened 2 months ago, it's kind of murky already, and I've been here for 4, so yeah, off the top. I believe I made a video before I left the Netherlands to come here, and I don't know where it is. I can't find it anymore. So for continuity's sake, I guess I'm just gonna like recap the one thing that I have here that I last knit while I was in the Netherlands, which was this. It's called a scarf. Is it? I think it's called the polka gris kerchief, handkerchief. It's just a small little neck scarf. This is it. This is what I made. I made this entirely out of drops Nord, I think, or the white is drops alpaca, and the brown is maybe drops Nord, and it's pretty snuggly, but I'm not used to wool right now because it's still pretty warm. It's still gonna hit like 27 or 8 degrees here, like close to 30 today. So I haven't worn these things, but when I did come in May, in the beginning of May, it was still kind of chilly. But I was like super happy because I had finished this just like the 2 nights before I had to leave. And this is what I made of it, and it's a pretty adorable pattern. I actually want to knit more of this. It was just super fun to just for once have a pattern and not worry about how much yarn I have and if I'll have enough and yada yada. It takes up, this took me exactly 2 skeins of the white and the brown yarn, and I think the pattern either calls for a little bit more, like a few more stripe repetitions. I think it does, but it didn't matter because it's not a whole lot to bind off. I also really love the bind off and how it turned out. Like it's pretty cohesive with the garter stitch here. I think it's an I-cord edge bind off. Like I haven't, at this point I've kind of like forgotten what it was. Maybe focus on my face. I've kind of forgotten what this was about, but in the end, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I kind of wore it for the most part like this as I was traveling. It was super snug, it was super cozy. I'm kind of looking forward to autumn being a little bit more chilly so that I can wear it out more often. So yeah, I took a pair of socks with me that I had started in the Netherlands, and it's this one here. I think this is a broken rib stitch, and I am using a flotte sock, I think, yarn. I don't know, I had it forever. This is like one of the first sock yarns I ever bought for myself. Back then I didn't even know what sock yarn was. It just says sock on it, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's probably for socks, but I didn't know that, what am I supposed to say? I didn't know how, what kind of feel this had in comparison to other woolen yarns and merino and superwash. So I just had it because I really love speckled yarn. I really love tweed, and this one is such a, look at it, it's such a happy tweedy color with there's like blue and a little bit of teal and yellow and red, and I wanted to make socks with it because I thought this would go great with jeans. The thing is, I started out with like red in the Netherlands, and then I thought I brought the red with me, but I guess I didn't. So I wanted to finish these socks as I went. Like I didn't want to have any unfinished objects. I wanted to just like, even if I had two different pairs of socks I would be working on, I always wanted to finish up at least one before I attempt something else. So I just casted it on the second one with yellow. It's a nice like twist like that. It's a nice little visual interest to an otherwise like mostly white sock. And yeah, I think this is called the broken rib pattern, and it's basically when you in my case knit, I think it's knit 3, purl 2 is how I've done it. And then you do that for the cuff, but then once you enter the body of the sock, like the leg of the sock and the foot of the sock, you alternate the purling. So on one row you do purling, but on the next row you do all knitting, and then you do the purling part again while continuing the knit stitches. And it makes this like really pretty indent like that with the little shape, while it not still being a complete rib. It still has the elasticity though, and it's a pretty comfortable sock. So yeah, this is the first sock pair that I finished here. And then shortly thereafter, we departed with my mom. We departed on a trip to, I mean, all over the place. It starts off in Bulgaria, and then we go through like Serbia and a little bit of Hungary, and then we sleep in Austria, and then we had a day trip in, I believe, Salzburg, and then we went to Strasbourg, and then we went to Munich, and then we went to Strasbourg, and then we went to Paris for 3 days, and it's a little bit murky from here on out. I think after that there was like, I think one more French city, and then we went to, yeah, there was one more French city that I don't remember. The Versailles as a city, and then the castles. I think so. Like I have photos, and if I look back on my photos, I remember. But like it was so much. It was like 8 days of like non-stop traveling, and like, look at this monument, and then like turn around, look at the Eiffel Tower. But quickly, we need to go visit the Louvre, and then there's like so many museums. And it was a whole thing. I enjoyed it, but I also don't feel like I have the energy to do something like that again. I'd much rather spend or dedicate a vacation to just one country or like a few cities within the same country, rather than just like sprinting through like 20 cities in Europe, like in the center of Europe. At the end of it, we did go to Switzerland, and we went around like Geneva and Montreal and like all the lakeside cities. But while I was in Strasbourg, I think it was Strasbourg. Yeah, while I was in Strasbourg, I visited the only yarn shop that I could, because a lot of them were off the beaten path, in a sense, by measure of where me and my mom were traveling, because we were mostly in the tourist destinations. We were in the city, in the center, around like the biggest monuments. So there wasn't really much room for me to go like, hey, can we like walk 7 kilometers to reach this one yarn shop that I found? Obviously I wasn't going to do that to her. And the one place I did find, there was a lot of yarn from this French brand that I remembered at the time, and I kept repeating it to myself, but now that I don't have the label, I don't know anymore. So I'll just like list it here somewhere. And from that French brand, I purchased, I believe, 4 yarn balls to make this scarf, which is the pressed flowers shawl. Yeah, I think it's called the pressed flower shawl. Obviously mine is much smaller than the one that's part of the pattern, but it really doesn't matter. You can, so long as you knit enough of a wing spread so you can like wrap it around your neck, I don't think it matters if it's like the complete like size of it or like a much smaller version. And yeah, mine is it's pretty tiny. I've already blocked this. I have not worn it because it's pretty warm. This is a hefty autumn to winter kind of shawl, but it turned out so pretty. Now that I'm looking at it in the camera, it's so much of what I imagine it being. My colors that I chose, I have just a few grams of them left, really. Mostly the red ran out first. So this is how much I have of the beige color, and this is how much I have of the like this like blood rusty red sort of color. It's a little bit more orange than I think the camera is showing right now. I dropped it. But yeah, this is how much I have left of these, and this is a mix of cotton, linen, and I think either a little bit of viscose, maybe a little bit of polyfiber. Again, if only I was a little bit more prepared, but I'm leaving tomorrow, so I don't have any organization right now. I only have like whatever's left of my yarn adventures here. So this is how much I have of this. I believe I purchased 4 skeins and 4 balls in total, and I managed to knit a shawl that wraps around once, and then it's kind of a little it like barely touches, like underneath here, like the 2 ends barely touch. So I feel like I'm probably gonna make a little clip of sorts that these can clip together, so it like just sits like a bandana like this, and I wear a coat over it so it won't like shuffle away. So yeah, maybe I should have like in retrospect, maybe I should have purchased 1 more of these just to make it slightly longer, to make like a couple more repeats maybe. But you know how it is. It wasn't exactly cheap. I believe one of these bowls was like €6, and I didn't want to splurge too much. At the time, because this was the first shop that I visited in France, at the time I was like, oh, we're gonna go through Switzerland and Italy, which in the end we did not go through like shopping district areas like that. And I was thinking I was gonna purchase something from those shops as well. I was out looking for yarn from those places, from like a Swiss brand. I wanted an Italian brand. I couldn't find anything in Germany, but that's okay because I kind of live in Germany. So I couldn't find anything in Munich. It was too late. It was like Sunday evening when we went there. In the end, this is what I purchased. This is the only thing from my trip, but it's fine because I'm like super happy with how it turned out, and it's a nice memory to look back on. I have, what do I have? I have some footage while I was on the trip, but it's not of this. It's of the other socks that I knit, which I'm now gonna get to. So while I was on the trip, I picked up quite a lot of yarn because I was like too worried that I would spend too much time in the bus just traveling and not knowing what to do with myself. So I actually knit quite a lot of socks. I knit this whole pair while we were on the 8-day trip. And this is yarn that partially I was gifted this yarn, or rather we traded with Katie. I don't know if I should say names and handles. I probably won't. I'm just going to say my knitting buddy. A knitting buddy that contacted me on trading some yarns, some of those leftovers that I had, and she had some leftover that she offered to trade with me, and she sent me like such a huge generous package. I feel kind of bad because I don't think I sent as much to her. So the yarn that she sent me is this like little speckled, probably hand-dyed yarn, and I have a little bit left of it here. It's this much. And the way that I've made this, because I wasn't sure I would have enough of this like little bowl, it was a bigger bowl, I wasn't sure I was gonna have enough, so I just made a helical stripe, meaning that the yarn only like shows up every other round. It's like alternating with a white round, with a white yarn, and yeah, I love how they turned out. They look so fun. They look so fun. The yellow is not coming clear, like through as nicely. Maybe in post-production, in editing, I'm just gonna enhance the color a little bit more. But it's this nice, vibrant, bright, ochreish yellow. And yeah, this, I don't know if I've said, maybe it's because I lost the footage, but this is my second toe-up sock that I ever started. Oh my god, I'm so warm. The second ever toe-up sock that I started, and I'm really enjoying toe-up socks now. So I'm doing 24 stitches with Judy's Magic cast on, and then I increase up to 64. I knit 1 more round, and then I begin my foot, and then I don't know, like some length here. I've written down like an ambiguous number. I think it's about 66 rounds, or around 70 or 65. I don't know. I change it often. I switch to a shadow wrap heel, and then I knit an amount for the leg. I did this with the tubular bind off, I believe. I think, yeah, probably the tubular bind off. But I don't like how it is. I don't like. It's a little, just slightly too unpleasant to go over the widest part of your foot, the heel and the instep. So I don't know if I'm gonna repeat that in the future. I already had, because I've knit another pair, which is the second pair that I took with me, or the second pair of socks that I knitted almost like completely. I only finished like a little bit once I returned while I was on the trip. Again, a toe-up sock with a Helical heel, which is this like little triangle. I love this triangle. It's a very fun construction. It also allows for me to use up a lot of the yarn that I had with. This is all from one skein. That's why they're not really samey. Like these are not symmetrical. It's like whatever, wherever I left off of the previous skein, I just picked up the other sock. And yeah, again, a toe-up construction, a Helical heel for the heel, and the white color is the extra color from here. From this pair. I had planned these out before the night before going, so I was like certain that I was gonna make at least 2 pairs with as least amount of yarn. I had carried the speckled one, a white one, a yellow one, and this colorful one with me throughout the thing. And probably if I had not, if I had more time, or if I was knitting way more than this, I would probably have casted another pair with the remainder. So yeah, these socks, one of this pair, probably gonna be for gifts this Christmas. I'm planning so many sock gifts, which is fine because I've already knitted like, I think 6 pairs, or I'm like near knitting 6 pairs. These are 2, and this is my 3rd one. And yeah, when I return, not that I'm not happy with knitting very colorful, like sort of summer spring themes, but I was bringing along a skein of opal cats and dogs, which I really enjoyed. I saw that Carsley Handmade had this colorway a long time ago, probably like in February maybe or March, and I purchased it for myself, and I love the pattern that comes out of it, which is these socks, which is another sort of broken rib sock, like broken rib body, like a little texture, just adding a little fluff of texture. But this time around, I think I only did 1 purl stitch. Yeah, it's only 1 purl stitch and 3 knit stitches to make this this texture, and I love how it came out. Obviously, it's only on the top of the foot and not on the bottom. This one is from the cuff down, and not much more to say about it. It's just fun knitting with like a pattern that you kind of don't know. Like I could see it here on the side of the little label thingy, but the problem is that I started backwards. Like they account for this pattern to come up like this if you start from the outside, but I always poke the yarn from the inside. That's how I pull it out. So yeah, this is how it ends up knitting up if the yarn is pulled from the inside. The red here is from I'm gonna show you what this is later. The red is from this little hank. I don't know if it's a hank. It's not for me anymore, at least. It's from the, I think it's called Jowl or Jowl or Yowl brand of yarn that has this little bobbin inside, and this was a complete shock because I'm like nearing the end of it and I'm like feeling something hard, and I thought it was just a little bunch of carton, but it turns out it's just like a I think it's a stabilizer thread, or like a reinforcement thread rather, and I've been using this to knit other pairs of socks, which I'll get into in a little bit. I also have here the little leftover of this pair. So this is how much I was left over with, and it feels it's a pretty cute color that remains here. No more yellow, but I feel like I'm gonna use this for a scrappy pair of socks in the future, or just gift it to someone else who wants to include this in like a blanket or whatever the heck. So yeah, this yarn is my remnant from there. What was I gonna say? Why did I open this pouch? It was to show probably these things, which were my cuttings from this pair of socks, because I wanted to get to the same like pattern repetition for the both of them, so that they're like completely matching. But yeah, I love that this was in there. I love that this was in the middle of the yarn. I don't have a whole lot left of it, of the yarn itself. Maybe not at all even. I can't find it at least. But another use. So at some point in like August, while it was like 40-something degrees out, I decided that I wanted to be a little bit more creative and stop knitting socks for a hot minute. And I made myself a pouch, a knitted pouch. And maybe I'll have to like change my, yeah. So this pouch is knitted with the sock yarn that I had available with the 2.5mm needles from the top here, and I don't remember how I did anything, and I haven't written anything down. For the most part, I just casted on I believe like 80 something stitches, enough so that I would repeat this pattern, pattern color work that I made in Stitch Fiddle, and I just knit, or rather I purled around, I knit around, and I purled around again to make this like orange part here, to make it like a little garter edge. I really enjoyed how that looked, and from that point onward it's just like straight stockinette up until the point where I reached the neck of the little pouch, and then I did a knit one, yarn over, knit two together. I feel like I have notes somewhere on my phone, but I need to look into that. And obviously I haven't prepared to share a pattern just yet because I want to try this out with like bulkier yarn to make like a nicer, more decent sized pouch. And yeah, from that point onwards, I knit a little bit of plain, and then I did my little color work pattern here of these sawtooth quilt stars, I think. And when I was happy with the size of it, of the length of this part, I made a whole round of purl stitches. It's what these bumps are here, because it makes the fabric sort of lay more firmly. It creates like this really pretty edge. And then on the bottom, I still don't feel like this is like the smartest move, but that's how I thought of doing it. I just like made this like decrease, similar to how you would on a beanie, to close the whole thing up. And then I was left, I think, with 8 stitches. I just like drew the remaining thread through and closed it up, and I blocked it on a glass, on actually this glass. I turned it upside down, I stretched it out over this glass, which fits exactly, and I left it out to dry. And this was my first attempt at making a pouch, sort of freehanding it. I was looking for some pouches at the time as well to see what other people have made. I haven't, like, there was like really pretty ones that were patchwork. There was some really pretty ones that had like, I've even talked about it in a free pattern video. There was one that like is like a Japanese style pouch that like has 2 handles, but one of it wraps around the other, and then you just carry it on your wrist. But I just wanted to try out making something small like this, if it's doable, how quick you can make it, and if it makes for a good gift. So yeah, this is my beta test, my alpha test, I don't know what it's called. And I will see to making more of these later, maybe. So yeah, I made this pair, and after it, I took a long break actually, and I started doing some embroidery. I went to the sea for a week, embroidered a whole bunch there, which I'll probably show at a later point because I've already packed that. It's packed up in my suitcase. And then when I came back, I finally decided that I shouldn't be as precious with this skein, which I got shortly before leaving Holland, and it's footprints. It's called Wool Addict Footprints by Long Yarns, and it's such a pretty skein. I'm not a huge fan of purple. I don't really wear much purple, but I do enjoy how this one looked. So I ordered it. It's what kind of sock yarn is this? I feel like there's cotton in here. I think it's 50% cotton, 50% wool. Oh no, it's way more than that. Okay, so it's 45% cotton, 42% wool, and 13% polyamide. And I thought I'm gonna try this with on socks. A lot of people had done socks with this, so I went for it. And since purple is not my color, but it is most certainly my friend Melina's color, I made socks for her for Christmas. And I just wanted to knit this with this yarn for as much as possible. I think this is exactly 50 grams, so it's half the bowl that this came in. 50 grams for one pair, brilliant. It's top down, so it's from the cuff down, and this is how the sock turned out, and I think it's pretty cute. Like from afar, it's kind of just like a space dye. It's like a whatever color, but when you look at it up close, it's I think it's more heavily dominated by the purples and a little bit of pinks in here and there and whatnot. Come on, it's gonna focus on this. Yeah, probably. So, and this is the socks. These are the socks I made for Melina. They're much thicker. The yarn is much thicker than like a regular superwash, the regular sock yarn. But I feel like she's gonna enjoy them regardless. I mean, if anything, they're just gonna be fun home socks or going to bed socks. And I have just enough left to make a whole nother pair, and maybe two even. If I do a helical stripe with this pair, but like incorporate way more purple, they won't be as greenish. I'm guessing. Or I might even try doing a combo of these two colors, and it will be a more sagey, foamy green, and this. Just have to see. I'm feeling inspired again with all kinds of like sock patterns, and I'm watching. I'm looking at people do their own socks on Instagram, following a lot of accounts that do, and I am feeling the nostalgia creeping up on the coming autumn. So I am, while I love knitting like colorful stuff like this, I don't wear it as often, and it just ends up being for gifts. So I'm kind of it's time to start knitting for myself more, because a lot of these socks are or will be gifts. So yeah, in the vein of that, I decided to use up this alpaca that I had also brought with me. It was Drops alpaca, and it was this this color. It was this color, which is like a blood red. It's not really rusty. It's like just like a blood red heathered yarn, really pretty. I initially, it's not a whip. It's kind of a whip. Initially, I just used it up to make these two pairs of mittens again in the peak of summer while I was under the AC. I just knit this pair of mittens, and it's still lacking the thumbs because I don't have any 3.5, I think, millimeter needles to finish these two thumbs. I knit this on small circulars that were 3 millimeter, and used up whatever yarn I had here, mostly to make use of this this alpaca one. And this is two strands of yarn held together, so they're very snug. Haven't even blocked them. I haven't washed them. They're a little firm. I'm hoping they will relax a little bit once you put them in the wash. But yeah, I felt like a change of pace. So instead of socks, I knit a little bit of mittens, a little bit of two. But I do like how these look. They look a little retro, I feel like. I don't know. I feel like this is something a kid in the 80s would have. I don't know. But they're very cute. They're either for myself, or I'm gonna just like leave them as a gift for someone this Christmas. And yeah, this is where this yarn went, majority of it. And I was left with just like about 14 grams or 12 grams. And this is where I used that reinforcement yarn on the little spool to make the toes. To make the toes on this sock, because I was worried that this being all alpaca will wear off really quickly, and it will probably felt, but it's fine. I've accounted for it felting by giving it a little bit more leg room here, and just a very simple vanilla sock, again, toe up, shadow wrap heel, helical stripe, and then for the first time ever, I did a folded cuff. I don't believe I've done this before, or not completely, not up to the point where I would have a complete sock. I've only started one with the picot edge, and I have not finished that yet. It's back home. So yeah, I made this double brim, double fold cuff with the remaining brown on this side. And I really enjoy it. It's incredibly stretchy. I think this might be my new favorite type of cuff, especially for the toe-up socks, because I don't know if it's as easy to make it as stretchy when you start from the top. Maybe if your stitches are live instead of cast on. So, I've been talking for so much. I haven't talked in like months like this. No, I'm just like rambling endlessly. So yeah, this is the sock. I haven't blocked it yet. I'm working on finishing this one. The second one, it's already almost done. It was just a joy to knit. I love knitting helical stripes. I love them even more if one of the yarns is like a more colorful yarn, like a self-striping one. And then I love this so much. I love knitting helical stripes. So yeah, almost have this one finished. I'm binding it off as we speak somewhere. I won't because I'll mess it up somewhere. And the final pair of socks that I'm working on, and I want to bring with me on the plane, because what else am I gonna do for 2 hours? Is this very confetti fun orange scallops with this pink yarn that I've been holding in my stash for the longest time. I love it. I love this color. It's so cute. I love like watching it, the speckles as they appear. Again, not something I would like wear in the winter. It doesn't match most of my clothes, but it just brings me so much joy. I just love knitting these like bright, colorful socks, and they look so nice together. Like look at that. Look at what a nice little bunch of little feet clothes. little feet quilts. So yeah, again, toe up, because that's my new obsession. And just like a little detail that I've added here is a broken rib-ish line that just will start from the feet and go up to the cuff, shadow wrap heel, and it's smooth sailing from this point onward. I might add the same sort of detail as this by adding like the orange yarn just on the top. The way that I did this, I mean, it's probably how most people do it, is I knit the very last row with this thread, and then I purl the row, and then I knit one more, and then I started on the inside part. And this helps me count, because I'm having trouble with like remembering where I need to actually fold onto. This helps me count. I did exactly 14 rounds of this brown here. So yeah, this helps a lot. Other than that, I've ordered some yarn for myself from Bulgaria, one of which is here, but the other ones I've already packed because I didn't have the foresight. I didn't think I was gonna film this today. So some of it is already in my luggage, so I'm just gonna show it to you when I unpack in my back home when I return. So the only one that I do have here, which I'm still yet to pack, is this wool plus silk by Gazal, I guess you would call it. Funny name for more than one reason. And it's called pumpkin spice, and that is what I got it. I also have never worked with such a luxurious yarn. I feel like it's incredibly soft. It's so pretty. The color is, I mean, you can see it. The color is what dreams are made of. It's amazing. It's a very beautiful color. It looks kind of like the cream of my coffee here. So this yarn was pretty affordable. It's a Turkish brand, but it's very luxurious. So this skein costed me like about €6. It's 50 grams. It's 330 meters. It's pretty thin. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use this for. Initially, I thought I would make myself some really pretty color work mittens with like an alpaca and this together. But this being as thin as it is, I'm not entirely sure. I might have to hold the two strands together. But I'll have to look into how much goes into making two mittens. If I can make a pair of mittens where one of the yarns is like 150 meters, this held together with itself, it might be great. And if not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure just yet what I'm gonna do with this yarn. But it's a little cutie to start the new season with. And the other yarn that I purchased is just it's a plain white, very, very, very nice, I think baby merino, or might be just like a superwash merino, but it's very soft. It's very soft, it's very luxurious. Again, and it's Bulgarian, and it's pretty cheap. It's unlike anything else. Like I bought a sweater's quantity of it for about €20. So I think I have like 8 skeins or 10 skeins or something. Excited to make something like that. I want to make myself a basic striped sweater, like just like a very staple piece. I have a skein of hand-dyed brown, like brown flickery, like freckle shades. I don't know what to call it. It's a brown yarn that I got from a friend of mine for Christmas last year. And I might make the stripes with that. I'll have to find out when I return home and make a swatch. I will make a swatch. Yeah. So I think that's all for now. I mean, I showed you my whip. I showed you what I got. I'm ready to pack all of this up. Kind of. I'm gonna send my luggage separately. Like I'm gonna travel with the plane, but the plane luggage is so expensive that it's cheaper for me to just pack everything in the box and just ship it to myself for some reason. So yeah, I'm gonna put everything in the box. I'm gonna have to unpack this basket. I have to empty the basket and leave it here because it's my mom's. But I've been enjoying like just looking at like a basket full of yarn like this. It feels very festive somehow. It feels bountiful. Like this is my bounty. So yeah, maybe I haven't showed everything because I haven't talked about this, but it doesn't really matter because these are just some of the yarns that I purchased from my favorite Bulgarian brand. Well, I feel bad saying my favorite. There's like 2 Bulgarian brands. One is called Stanley and the other one's called Performance. And I buy from those mostly. And the Performance makes really nice. Why is it not focusing on it though? I can't reach it. It makes really fun. All of my fun colors, all of my like toe colors and hero colors and whatnot are from there. and they make some fun self-striping ones, like that other self-striping sock. Haven't tried this one yet. It has no picture, so you don't know what you're gonna get, which is a little annoying, a little scary, but also mostly fun. It's mostly fun. So yeah, I'm gonna see what this comes out as. Might make it a helical stripe again. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else in here that I haven't shown. Like, these are some of my yarns that I just carried with me when I came here. So yeah, looking forward to knitting some sweaters now. Like, I have enough socks. I mean, I'm probably gonna knit some more socks because there's plenty of people to gift, and it's a challenge that I've sort of undertaken. I have to actually make. It's gonna be 1 year in a few days, or maybe a week. 1 year since I started knitting socks, and if Ravelry is to be believed, I have close to 20 pairs that I've completed, and a few more pairs that need their second sock done. So I've made like 23 maybe, or 25, 23 or 25, something like that, pairs of socks in 1 year since I started knitting socks last year, which I feel proud for. Like, it feels quite the accomplishment. It's also really fun. I'm really happy I picked up socks. So yeah, I think that's all for now. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up and go away, have a tall glass of water to calm down, and continue packing, do some work, and probably go on one last trip around town and visit my grandma. I need to see my grandma. I need to give her some stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I will probably be a little bit more frequent now. I'll show up a little bit more now that the cooler weather has like resumed its duty. So yeah, bye for now.